The story is about a group of friends trapped in a forest, hunted by a relentless, bloodthirsty creature. The scene opens with a group sprinting through a dark forest. A terrified scream pierces the air, followed by the beast's chilling roar, driving them to flee for their lives. Barbara is violently slain by the beast as she stumbles and is taken behind a tree. Her friends Douglas, Carl, and Vicky watch the horrific sight. Later, the scene shifts to a group of young people traveling in a car. Jeff and his girlfriend Mandy, Jeff's sister Alyssa and her boyfriend Matt, along with Sean. Sean makes a side trip, and while speaking in the car, Alyssa tells them to continue on a road that cuts through the forest. Ahead on the detour, they see a sign that says "Road Closed." Jeff pulls up, lets everyone out to see the obstruction in front of them, and says the forest is undergoing environmental restoration, but he knows this is really a front to hide future ancient tree logging. The group is dejected, thinking the trip is over, and Jeff is irritated, but Mandy comforts him. Since they have nowhere else to go, they initially decide to camp there, but Alyssa says she used to camp there with her family, so they get ready to gather their belongings and walk because the car can't pass. The group wants to leave quickly, but Melanie is conceited, so they all wait for her to touch up her makeup. A few moments later, the group has already entered the forest to head to the camping spot. They follow the trail, enjoying themselves and taking in the scenery. Matt asks if their belongings will be safe in the car, and Jeff assures them that they will be, leaving the key in the gas cap. Jeff responds that the ranger cautioned that animals may have come to this region owing to destruction in the deeper forest, and that is why the spray is there for protection. When Sean inquires about the purpose of the spray, Sean makes a joke about how spray won't protect them from a grizzly bear's savagery if it confronts them. The group keeps going, oblivious to the large wolf's horribly murdered corpse by the side of the trail. The group hasn't arrived at their destination yet, and when Alyssa notices that the sun is going to set, she gets worried. Jeff and his sister talk about what to do because Jeff accidentally led them astray, thinking they would enjoy it. Matt, in the meantime, leaves the group to relieve himself and discovers a backpack. He picks it up and hears the sound of breaking trees, but he ignores it and walks back to his friends. Matt goes back to the others and shows Sean what he discovered. Later that night, the group hikes on with the help of flashlights, and Mandy is upset with Jeff for being so careless that they ended up practically lost in the forest. Mandy notices something strange in the foliage near a hole, so she goes to investigate when she finds bloodstains. Something in her screams, causing the group to rush to her. They see the horrifying scene of body parts suddenly and become terrified and run to find a high place to call the ranger. However, on the way, they come across a creature. It rises, revealing itself to be a monstrous human with large, sharp teeth, an alien-like head, and a body resembling a werewolf. The group flees in terror at what they have just witnessed, and Sean falls, leaving his backpack behind. The beast picks the youth up, and they remain together and seek cover behind a rock, watching the surrounding forest. Fortunately, they find a nearby house in the middle of the forest where Jeff asks his two friends to take the girls there while he diverts the creature in the forest, promising to return soon. When Jeff switches on his flashlight and turns to face the monster, it attacks him swiftly, tearing out his organs and murdering him. When his friends see this, they can only flee to the house, where they knock frantically until the homeowners let them in. Mandy is almost pulled away, but the homeowners scare the creature away with fire. The monster then tries to enter, but Carl and Vicky, the homeowners, tell the group to be quiet. After the silence, the beast leaves. When they are calmer, Vicky cleans up Mandy's cuts and provides when Sean's cell phone dies, and he tries to call 911. The gang hears a man's voice. They soon learn that it's Douglas, who is unhappy that the creature sensed them when they entered the house and that no one will be coming to aid them. Carl notes that the animal becomes quieter when it eats and that when they first arrived, there were barricades at the entrances, suggesting that other people had already gone through. Nevertheless, there is an entrance through the basement which almost brought them to their demise, but they were able to shut the door. Carl claims that the beast appears to be familiar with the area and has an insatiable appetite. Fearing the worst, the group begins to fortify the barriers further, and when Alyssa tries to walk upstairs, Douglas forbids her from doing so. When Matt joins her, Alyssa tells him that she believes the thing wants them in the house as a food supply for when they become older. Matt tries to comfort her by claiming that the loss is causing her to think that way. Alyssa goes to another room and surveys the damage in the house. Alyssa maintains that she is confident in her beliefs. Matt continues speaking and downplaying their predicament, saying that it was only a fierce animal that put them there. Nevertheless, he consoles Alyssa, encouraging her to use her head to find a way out because she is resilient in trying circumstances. Suddenly, they are startled by the creature emerging at a window that is blocked by boards. The beast starts circling the house, looking for access places, so the party runs to them and reinforces the passages. They pursue it and discover it has gone upstairs, where Douglas is. Douglas walks downstairs, clearly terrified, while Carl, Matt, and Sean approach to examine the openings. Sean descends to retrieve his spray while Carl cautiously enters the chamber, and upon spotting the beast, shuts the door with the others in an attempt to contain it. Carl's arm is injured by the beast as it breaches through the wood, but Sean gets there fast and sprays the beast's face, making it retreat. The group uses a piece of furniture to close the door, but Doug is adamant that it won't be enough and they must leave the house as soon as possible. A short while later, the group sits down to discuss a solution, deciding to stay in a single room with a single barricade. At first, this seems like a good idea, but Douglas says it will only delay the beast from getting them. The group decides this is a suitable course of action because emergency services have promised to send help, but Douglas tosses his phone, claiming they told him the same thing. Douglas is not comforted by Alyssa's statement that her parents may have friends who might search for them. Instead, he advises them to flee to the road, where they will be found more quickly if anyone is looking for them. Douglas remembers losing his wife to the beast, but he still hopes they can escape the horror by giving the beast something to eat. The group objects to the idea of one of them being eaten. Matt insists he can reach the road and obtain assistance because he thinks he can run faster than the beast. When Alyssa confronts him in private about his plan, she doesn't want him to put himself in danger for something unknown, but Matt believes it's a good idea for the group since he just needs a diversion before he can outrun the creature and cross the forest to get assistance. Mandy is persuaded to agree to the idea by Matt, who also shows her the walkie-talkie he will be using to talk to her. Carl shows up and declares that he will be the diversion since he no longer fears the beast after confronting it so frequently. Sean departs from the house with him in order to assist and watch from a distance and warn him of the approaching beast. Carl begins to attract the monster's attention with a flare and a whistle. As the group waits inside the home on the porch, Sean uses the walkie-talkie to let Carl know when something is happening nearby. Carl signals for Matt to run as soon as he accelerates. Carl asks Sean what he sees, but he hasn't seen him in a few moments. When they get to the house's entry, Douglas stops them from going in since they can hear Matt screaming on the walkie-talkie. Feeling unsettled and apprehensive by the monster's approach, Vicky tries to open the door but is knocked down by Douglas. Nevertheless, Mandy instructs Carl to proceed to the kitchen door, which she opens, but the beast can hear via the fallen walkie-talkie. Enraged, Douglas wakes up to find himself bound to the staircase bars, and Carl tells him to be quiet. Douglas explains that he did what he had to protect himself and the others, but Carl doesn't want to hear it. Carl surprises Douglas and knocks him out. A few minutes later, Alyssa tells Mandy that she won't flee from the thing anymore, thinking that they have now lost Matt. She promises they will stay and figure out how to take out the beast. Mandy gives her a hug in an attempt to console her before telling her that she is expecting a child, but Jeff is dead and won't ever find out. After their conversation, they go to the living room and see how terrified Sean is living through this nightmare. The girls try to cheer him up and tell him that he and everyone else will be fine. However, fearing for his life, Sean begins confessing his hidden truth, one of which is that he is gay and had a secret romance with Jeff. This makes Mandy upset and furious that he says this after Jeff's death. The noise from the argument grows louder to the point where Mandy has to intervene and tell them to stop talking. A walkie-talkie begins to emit signals, but when the group tries to communicate, they only hear beeps, which further confuses and worries them. In another room, another walkie-talkie begins to emit the same signals, and when the group goes to find it, they discover it is in the basement. They decide to go down there together, armed with objects, but Sean and Vicky stay behind. The group descends to the basement and finds Matt's severely injured body. Suddenly, the creature emerges from the darkness, and Carl attacks it to give the others time to escape the basement. But sadly, Matt does not return alive. Vicky, grieving, muses over her loss as the others in the living room attempt to save Matt, who is hurt and losing strength. Matt reveals that there are two creatures, which makes the group even more alarmed. Douglas suggests using Matt as bait so the group can flee, but Alyssa suggests that since they know the beast wants to get in to catch them, they should set a trap, imprison the monster inside, and then set it on fire. Douglas says he will assist her and accepts the proposal. Then, while he is dying, Sean releases the bindings after Matt confesses his love to Alyssa. The insane and disturbed Douglas uses a piece of wood to kill him. He insults everyone, saying he had to do it in order to survive. He then drags the dead body to the door to place it outside, but the monster surprises him by bursting through the wooden barrier and beginning to eat him alive. Realizing that the creature is occupied, the remaining group gathers some belongings and goes to the basement to retrieve some cans of kerosene. When the creature stops eating and investigates the noise, Alyssa and Mandy spread the fuel. When the creature reaches the basement door where the party is hiding, Alyssa is not visible, and she starts her plan to cage the beast in the room, add more fuel, and light it on fire. As the group from the basement heads outside, Mandy goes back to get Vicky, who is staring at her deceased husband. Sean screams in terror and then goes silent, indicating that he has been killed. When Mandy tries to leave with Vicky, the widow suddenly stops at the exit door, her stomach beginning to bleed. The monster was struck by the flames, causing it to thrash and scream in pain before dying. The second creature that Mandy finds kills Vicky. Terrified, Mandy flees and finds Alyssa. It's already dawn, and the two girls flee for their lives. The beast follows them, and not far ahead, Mandy trips and falls. Sadly, Alyssa doesn't have time to help her, so the beast attacks Alyssa, starting a deadly attack that leaves her as the only survivor. Hearing the creature nearby, Mandy runs through the forest in desperation. Suddenly, she gets an idea. She throws away her blood-stained shirt and covers herself in the damp dirt to hide her scent. Mandy keeps running and soon reaches the location where they left the car. She quickly gets the key and starts it to drive away, but the monster appears and attacks her. The final scene shows the monster's dead body, but the terror is not over because there are still more terrifying creatures. Mandy fights off the beast, shifts gears, and guns the car to crush its head, determined to end the nightmare. With the monster defeated, she drives out of the forest, haunted by the memory of her fallen friends. Subscribe and hit the bell for more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.